So if you're like me, Cody Ko has been the staple part of your YouTube consumption journey for years. I mean, he's quite literally the perfect person to listen to as you eat a meal. Or if you're on the treadmill or training for a race.
All ready for the run. Hold on, wait, I'm missing something. Energy is everything. Let's get it.
Or when you're on the subway with no signal and need a quick laugh.
In this episode, we joke about mom's sweet hams and gargantuan cheeks, of course.
I mean, this guy somehow does every single format, including music.
Not going home.
Which is insane. I don't know how he does it. But before we get to him, we first need to talk about this ongoing conversation on YouTube about retirement.
As this became my life, I decided that my goal was 10 years.
These YouTubers are generally retiring around the 10-year mark, which sounds like a long time until you compare this to any traditional job. Imagine if any business person, singer, mechanic, or movie director retired after 10 years. That's not a long time. In fact, for most, that's the start of your career. Like imagine you heard Christopher Nolan after he came out with his first movie in 1998, the following, retire after 10 years. These are the movies that wouldn't exist today. These movies are the prime of his career. I consider myself a new generation YouTuber, and after hearing this news, it's definitely quite concerning. So as a solution, over the past 2 months, I started looking at YouTuber business models that I think are sustainable. And in that, there's one YouTuber that comes to mind.
Okay, welcome back to Insanely Chill. Thanks for joining us for another week. Today, it's just me in the great outdoors. I don't know if you can tell. You can tell if you're watching the video. If you're listening, you might hear.
Now, to many, Cody Ko is this simple OG React channel, someone who's been doing it since the Vine days. But the more you look into this world that he's built, the more my jaw especially just drops.
This is our 7th one.
Really?
You know that? This is Tinder Nightmare 7.
What?
This is like a full fucking...
You guys like them that much?
I don't think they do, actually. I think we just keep doing them. Nobody has said, hey, do another one of these.
It starts with this funnel where his main channel is at the very top of it, how most people find him.
Hey there, don't tell me someone as cute as you is single.
Hey there, I can't believe someone as creepy as you. It's just like so unnecessary.
Holy fuck.
But then one layer deeper is Cody and Ko. And the differences are there, but they are pretty similar channels.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, in a brand new studio. Look at this. This has been in the works for a while, guys.
This one is one where he makes a bit longer videos and he's kind of self-referential. Cody Ko fans know what I'm talking about. Then one layer deeper is his Tiny Meat Gang podcast.
Guys, it's the last classics of the year.
Let's say that's 7 times fast.
One that he does with his co-host, Noel Miller. Okay, we're getting somewhere. But on top of that, they do a bonus episode behind a paywall called TMG Bone Zone. I would consider this his main funnel, but that's not all because he also has these side islands within his empire. For example, Insanely Chill is this podcast he does where he kind of just talks to talk.
Originally, how the show, when Insanely Chill was first concepted and the episodes first started coming out, it was this. And so I'm actually pretty excited to be doing this today.
He's recently talked about being a father and life like that. He also is now making his own music. On top of all that, he also has a Cody Trains account where he trains as an athlete and shares his journey there.
But, if this walk thing continues to be a thing, maybe we do some walk talks.
He often guests on other people's channels, including Jubilee and other podcasts. And finally, most recent and impressive of all, he just got a residency at Wynn Las Vegas. And it's kind of the whole reason I'm making this video, because if you compare what he's doing, his empire, to my empire, I'm struggling to put out 2 YouTube videos out a month, and he's putting out like 20 plus pieces of content, all while having a family and now basically being this resident at a nightclub in Las Vegas. I mean, it's simple to me. This is what you call a better, more pretty system.
The way I've kind of boiled it down, which I think is really funny, is everyone is speed running their YouTube career. So they're doing these really intense concepts right away. But I do think there is something to be said about how the algorithm is motivating absurdity. You know, now before it used to be like, look at this goofy movie that I saw. Now it's like, I watched every movie from this director.
Okay, we're standing up for this one because this is where the wheels start turning for me. When we take a look at any of these YouTuber retirement videos, you'll find one common sentiment. The ideas that they have or the production of their videos become just too big to be sustainable.
As the YouTube game changed over the years, as the channel became bigger, as my own standards became higher and higher to keep pace with all the people I was collaborating with and competing with, it's a job that keeps getting bigger and more complicated, and I am so tired. There's nothing in my life right now except work.
And even myself personally, I would say my YouTube channel was reborn like 8 months ago, and I'm already feeling this pressure. And I think every YouTuber can attest to this, where naturally you'll have a video do well. And your obvious next thought is, I'm gonna double down on how that video was formed. But I can't just do the same thing, I've gotta one-up myself. And I think it's big YouTuber culture to where we become numb with just throwing more effort and more money into an idea when those two variables aren't the only variables that can make a video better. And I don't just blame the creators, because at the end of the day, Noel Miller said it best, where the algorithm favors absurdity. Okay, pause, because I already know what some people are gonna comment below. Some say that this word algorithm is just a reflection of your audience. So don't just blame this all mysterious algorithm, it's you creating something for an audience. I've put a lot of thought into that statement, and it's mostly true. The algorithm does equal audience desires, plus the self-interest of social media platforms themselves. A fancier way of just saying watch time. And my friend Taha at Answer in Progress, when I was trying to formulate how to explain this, I think said a sentence that explains this best.
Yo, Taz, say that one more time. What'd you just say? It was gold.
The algorithm is a reflection of all the things that make you forget that you have other things to do. That's
a bar.
It is you, but it's just the parts of you that like feed off a distraction.
This pressure to make your videos more and more absurd is the main problem on YouTube. And I think that 95% of YouTubers face this. But one of the reasons I look up to Cody Ko is because I believe he's someone who saw this early and was able to build around that. How exactly? Well,
my intent was to learn how to write like iPhone apps. So everyone else had a job lined up after college. I didn't. So I was like, what am I going to do? Go back to Canada? I want to stay in the States. And so this job got me not only a job, but a visa.
He started off his career as a software engineer, but soon moved to a company that serviced the creator economy. He was quite early to this whole scene.
I had a job for a company called Victorious.
Yeah,
which
we had an app on Victorious.
Yeah. So I was an engineer there.
Oh, wow.
Just for everyone listening that doesn't know, they did bespoke apps for influencers. One thing we started doing is trying to also work on a social media app. As that was happening, Vine came out. And it was, we saw it as like a competitor. So I was like, I got to download this and use it and see how they're thinking about videos. And I started making Vines.
At the same time, Cody was also starting to build his own audience.
People started kind of catching on, liking what I was making, and a few years of doing that, transitioned over to YouTube, had to figure out, what made a YouTube video good, what style worked for me. Figuring that out was kind of a scary period, because that was also like, I was still programming, still not sure which one I wanted to do, or if I even could do content as a full-time thing.
But because Cody is Canadian, he faced an issue, and that was a visa.
So I really had to make the conscious decision, like, okay, I'm gonna switch my visa to a visa that would allow me to do creator stuff. In order to legally pursue content, I have to get a particular visa to do it. And once I got it, I legally couldn't be an engineer anymore. So I was like, I have to give this a go, and I have to make it, give it my all. So my goal in my head was I have to match my salary for my engineering job.
Why couldn't you be an engineer?
If you get a visa, you're taking a job from an American, right? So you can't do multiple jobs. Like what you have a visa for is what you have to do.
Because he couldn't do any other job, he had to find a way to be an entertainer in the United States. And although this decision must have been tough, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
The goal, and then when we started the podcast, it was like, okay, let's make enough money where we can
We can do this full time. We don't have to worry about getting another programming job.
Yeah.
And Patreon did that for us, like right off the bat.
This podcast that was on a subscription model rather than an ad-based model is actually what made him escape the absurdity trap.
With YouTube, where we had to like wait for inspiration or to find like the perfect video, which is always like a weird, stressful thing. And it's in the back of your mind. It's like, okay, what's the next one? Whereas with a podcast, it was like, no, we go in the same day every week. It's like easier on the mind as a creative, like to count on a production schedule like that.
The podcast audience, their expectation is like they're gonna hang out with you guys, you know? And it's like so different from the expectation of someone clicking on a video right now when the video next to it is like, I exploded 10 bombs on an eye. You know, you're like, well.
But when we fast forward to today, Cody's also done a second thing that most of us aren't doing that's brilliant. He understands his audience and has segmented them to different relationships based off of what they're interested in. For example, I don't follow TMG, but I follow Cody Trains at his main account. Most of us YouTubers today, I think, are just so focused on maximizing views, not caring about who that audience is. But that depth that Cody knows with his audience is brilliant, and I think has only helped the longevity of his career. All of this is to build a more casual experience with us, the viewers. It's not like we're expecting the next Cody Ko video to be, I watched every Jubilee video in 48 hours. Here's what happened. He's completely escaped that absurdity trap. And more YouTubers and creators, I think, need to model off of this.
We would make something and we would let it sit for a while and then we would come back to it. That's what music is about. And that really helps sometimes.
Chipping away.
Exactly. Listening to it with fresh ears a couple months later. With YouTube, that's not existent. You come up with something, you write it, you shoot it, you edit it, and then it's out.
So if you watch all of the YouTuber retirement videos again, I think there's one point that is kind of interesting. And it's that these YouTubers aren't quitting, they're just scaling back.
This probably isn't goodbye, like not forever. The podcaster host, Lateral, is still going out weekly. My newsletter's still going out. The Plus channel will probably return at some point. There'll likely be new technical difficulties episodes. There are links to all those things around here somewhere.
And when I watched these and came to that realization, it kind of reminded me of this Naval Ravikant quote. Retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for an imaginary tomorrow. When today is complete in and of itself, you're retired. If we take Tom Scott's example, again, he's not quitting and falling off the face of the planet. He's just scaling back to a weekly podcast, something he knows he can do for a very long time. Cody's empire is the best YouTube version of this quote. His content is low lift, he knows his audiences, and he's continually focusing on what he loves the most.
Like we were talking about at dinner yesterday, like I live for the 0 to 1 phase of something. Looking at something good that I like and going through the process of figuring out the pieces that make that thing work and that make it good. Whether it's editing a video or making a song or anything. I love that process, that first bit of the learning curve.
This man is the modern day retired. The last video I made was some of the most fun I've ever had, but it's something I can't consistently do. And one reason I wanted to create this video is to give myself permission to be able to create something more casual like this, as long as the core pillar of this channel remains. Sharing an important lesson that I learned in a concise and fun way. All right, I want to leave you all with this Tim Ferriss quote, something he said on the Colin and Samir podcast that I often think about, and I think is important.
Choosing a game you can play for the long term. It's so simple, but if you are doing something that is even slightly depleting over time, that is going to compound in a way that's very problematic.
Shout out Cody Ko. I think in a very indirect way, he shared quite an important lesson that will shape the way I look at his career.